Hey, folks, it seems, according to sources from inside, we have a verdict. We have a verdict.
All right, we are on the record. Council's at the table. Number 6, note. To the judge, the jury is ready to deliver the verdict. State ready.
State's ready, Your Honor.
I'm
Defense ready?
not positive about this.
All right, thank you. You may bring the jury out.
I'm not positive.
Actually, hang on just a moment. I'm sorry. I want to say something to the audience.
I sent an invite to Mo.
So, ladies and gentlemen of the audience, I want to make sure that you understand, and you have been very understanding so far. So this is not an accusation. This is just a direction for everyone who's in the courtroom. This is a courtroom, and it is a court of law. There is to be no yelling or screaming or jumping up and down or any carrying on. Again, this is a court of law. Any kinds of those demonstrations of emotions need to be reserved for outside the courthouse. I'm going to ask for decorum. I'm going to demand it, but certainly ask all of you to continue behaving in the appropriate way that you all have been. And I appreciate everyone's patience. I appreciate everyone's cooperation, but I'm instructing all of you again that this is a court of law and everyone is to remain calm. Thank you.
All right.
Let me bring the jury out.
Verdict in.
All right, here you go.
I must say, I don't have a good feeling. This is way too fast after the last question and looking through the DNA evidence. Yeah, Dave, now we have a verdict.
Yes.
All 12. Thank you. You all may be seated. Madam Foreperson, I understand the jury has reached a verdict. Is that correct? Would you please hand it to Mr. Terrell? The court will look it over first. Then I'm going to hand it back to you, Madam Foreperson, to read it out loud, called publishing.
Prepare for the worst, hope for the best. I felt better after question 1 and 2 than after 3 and 4.
Yeah.
Foreperson, if you would read the verdict from top to bottom, you may remain seated. If it's easier for you to stand, you certainly can. If you'll pull that microphone in front of you down to you, read it from top to bottom. It is called, again, publishing the verdict. Thank you. You may proceed.
Okay. The jury finds the defendant on the following counts. Count 1, malice murder, guilty.
Yeah.
Count 2, felony murder, guilty. Count 3, felony murder, guilty. Count 4, felony murder, guilty. Count 5, felony murder, guilty. Count 6, burglary, guilty. Count 7, aggravated sodomy, guilty. Rape, guilty. Count 9, aggravated assault, guilty. Count 10, aggravated sodomy, guilty. Count 11, arson in the first degree, guilty. Count 12, possession of a knife during commission of a felony, guilty.
All right, Madam Foreperson, if you would present that verdict to our bailiff. Mr. Terrell, if you'll bring it up to the bench. May I see counsel at the bench for you all to review the form of the verdict? Thank you.
Yeah, despite the only evidence, trace DNA inside Tara, and literally nothing else, they found him guilty on all counts. And it is, I believe it is him saying, I didn't know her. I've never seen her.
Do
And then his
either
DNA.
party want to poll the jury? I'll ask the state first.
State does not, Your Honor.
Mr. Cruz, defense? All right. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to poll each and every one of you, and that means the court is going to ask each juror the same questions and answer how you feel is best. I'm going to start on the front row with Madam Foreperson. Was this your verdict in the jury room? Was this verdict agreed to by you? Is this now your verdict? Thank you. Sir, was this your verdict in the jury room? Was this verdict agreed to by you? Is this now your verdict?
Yes.
Thank you. Sir, was this your verdict in the jury room?
Yes.
Was this verdict agreed to by you? Is this now your verdict?
Yes.
Thank you. I'm now going to go from right to left. Sir, was this your verdict in the jury room?
Yes.
Was this verdict agreed to by you? Is this now your verdict? Thank you. Ma'am, was this your verdict in the jury room? Was this verdict agreed to by you? Is this now your verdict? Thank you. Ma'am, was this your verdict in the jury room? Was this verdict agreed to by you? Is this now your verdict? Thank you. Ma'am, was this your verdict in the jury room? Was this verdict agreed to by you? Is this now your verdict? Thank you. Sir, was this your verdict in the jury room? Was this verdict agreed to by you? Is this now your verdict? Thank you. Sir, was this your verdict in the jury room? Was this verdict agreed to by you? Is this now your verdict? Thank you. Sir, was this your verdict in the jury room? Was this verdict agreed to by you? Is this now your verdict? Thank you. Sir, was this your verdict in the jury room? Was this verdict agreed to by you? Is this now your verdict? Thank you. Sir, was this your verdict in the jury room? Was this verdict agreed to by you? Is this now your verdict? Thank you. Anything else from the state with regard to polling the jury?
No, Your Honor.
Mr. Cruz, anything else with regard to polling the jury, sir? All right, thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, I want to thank you for your service to this county, Clark County. It has been a long month. You have been very patient. You have always been here on time. I'm going to release all of you from any further attendance in this case. With the thanks of the court, you are all going to be free to go in just a moment. The bailiff will lead you to the front door as usual. You will be escorted to the elevator and escorted to the parking deck to your cars. With the thanks of the court, you are all free to go. Thank you. Everyone keep their place, please.
Shurek, go away.
No? I certainly can do that.
No, hold on here. I'm actually going to address.
And I will give counsel leave to leave the courtroom and
I'm going to address this. This is a huge issue for me. Send this career criminal back home where he belongs. This is Islamic or communist thinking. Republic, democratic state, whatever. We do not hold trials on people's past. We only hold trials on the evidence that is actually here. Commies, Islamics, they do what this person wants trials to be about. Oh, he's a career criminal. He has to be guilty.
Yeah, and we can't hold this. We don't hold that logic for the victim. We weren't allowed to bring in her past or anything like that. So if we hold for the victim, we should hold for the defendant. Yes, I mean, definitely he had not lived a clean and pure life, but nearly every single one of us has committed a crime that you know, we just haven't been punished for because we haven't been caught or, you know, things like that. And I'm not talking about, but like jaywalking, littering, anything. It just takes one moment and one prosecutor who really has a Jones out for you. And I will say, as someone who hasn't watched the entire trial, I do think the DNA was very hard to get away from. With as much as DNA has become kind of the foundational kind of, you don't have to think he's guilty kind of thing. It's kind of, oh, his DNA is there. I don't have to think. And that's kind of what it's become. And now that we're getting so sensitive and we're getting all these mixtures, I'm afraid that we're going to have a lot more of these cases.
Yeah. This is so disappointing. And sadly, I believe it all boiled down to his DNA was in her, and he claimed to have never met her. That's it. That's the entirety of the guilty verdict.
But let's say he did it.
Yeah.
But he was kind of in a damned if you do, damned if you don't. So this, black guy says, yeah, I met this, white law student. I'm from the wrong side of the tracks. So just saying, oh, I ran into her at a Mexican restaurant, he probably thinks, oh, you're going to try to pin this all on me.
And here he is. I don't know. If I was accused, I would have took the stand and explained myself. Again, only commie, horse, and Islamic shitheads go for this. There is literally written into everything in the US judiciary. A defendant, an accused, are not obliged to put himself or herself on the stand. And you are actively forbidden to hold it against them.
This is why we need civics class back.
Yeah.
The burden has never been on the defense, but people think like this gentleman or person, look, it's 2026, whatever you are. Never does the defense ever have to put on a case. What the state has to put on a case, the state has the burden. And we need civics class back because people don't get that. I had to explain that when I was on jury duty several times. So it's not something that we hear the words, we don't get it. It's not something that's understandable because most people think, I'm innocent, I would prove my story. That's not how this works. We can't think like that. That's every other day thinking. This isn't jury thinking. Jury thinking is you are instructed. You cannot use that against him.
Yeah, literally. And when it comes to between Chris and Edric, it doesn't really matter if Edric says he never met her and Chris says he hadn't met her for 6 days. They are equally, when it comes to the DNA evidence, equally far apart because there is not even theoretical possibility that Chris' DNA, even through transfer, survived that many days inside Tara. He lied. He might as well said, I've never met her. But again, the importance of shut the fuck up. Everything you say can and will be used against you. Everything. This is not legal advice. This should be common sense. If you are accused, shut the fuck up and lawyer up. Because had Edric shut up and got himself a lawyer, that final statement, while confronted with the DNA, all of that would not have happened. There would be no statements to present to the DNA.
Now, what I do find interesting is this didn't happen in the dark. This wasn't Delphi. And by dark, I mean this was streamed and it's been picked up by
Mm.
some of the, I mean, I consider you a bigger LawTube channel, but
Mm.
even, bigger than us. This has been, seen by a lot of law nerds. It's not going to go away. And I wonder how the state of Georgia is going to deal with, again, do not reach out to juries, do not reach out to lawyers, do not reach out to victims, witnesses, anyone. That's dumb.
No,
But
no.
should we have a fundraiser for appeal or something like that? This could be the next Karen Reed, and I don't know if Georgia's ready for that.
Yeah. And here is what speaks against Mr. Faust, is that during sentencing, everything he has ever done in his life will be revealed. And that will also be held against him in appeal. Now, the first stage of appeal is only, did the judge do something so bad it can be overturned? And looking at the high standards there are in Georgia to have a judge overturned, personally, I would say he has a better than average chance. But that still is below 10%.
For
And
me, I get stuck. I get stuck with the thing that doesn't match. And the thing that
yeah,
doesn't match is Edric Faust's DNA. And
yeah,
you can make everything fit with Chris. And look, I get Occam's razor is a bit of a fallacy, and that once in a while the thing that you least expect happens, but 99% of the time in true crime, it is the guy that we all thought was the creepy weirdo.
mm, mm. And now, what would be the best appeals issues? I would say not disallowing the defense from even suggesting that Tara was seen at a bar that Faust allegedly was frequent at.
Well, I guess that would be a good thing, if what would be the process to get that evidence in? Because I know they were talking about 412 evidence. So do they have
Mhm.
to do kind of like a voir dire of what they would want to put in as far as there's a possibility that she was seen in a bar that Mr.
Mm.
Faust frequented?
Yeah, it should have come in after the state opened the door for her history by claiming that Chris was consensual 6 days before, because that literally is bringing her history in.
Okay, because I didn't know. I know that there's a process by which they can petition the court to bring it in,
Mm.
but I didn't know. I mean, I would guess it would be a pretty high standard because it
Mm.
the current trend is to not bring any of the victims' past history in.
Yeah.
So I would guess it would have to be pretty gold standard, like we
Yeah.
have a Polaroid of them together.
Mm. Yeah, but in a majority of grape cases, there is one person and one victim, and one says no, and they try to prove it by, look what a slut she used to be. That's not allowed when it's one person and one victim. Here it is two possible perpetrators, and then disallowing history when history is a major part of the state's case by claiming there was, Chris and Tara lovey-dovey for 2.5 years. And Chris' DNA was, as the lead detective said, his DNA was supposed to be there. Even though he himself said, not in the back door. We never had backdoor things. We never met. We didn't meet for 6 days. 6 days before, which makes it literally impossible for the DNA transfer to happen.
Yeah, that's where I don't get that, and especially with a sphincter muscle, I still don't understand how the drippage and gravity works. I'm sure I will have it explained to the fullest extent by the state's expert. It must have sold the jury because
Yeah, and I believe Bob said this on the stream, and he said it on their channel as well. They really, the defense, if they only they should have, and now in retrospect, have their own DNA expert try to demolish the state's DNA evidence.
that's what I will say. The first Karen Reed, I think, if I were to compare this case to Karen Reed in having a really good defense that didn't quite work out.
Yeah.
The first Karen Reed, I think they did, as a person who likes conspiracy theories but would rather hear about the facts, I think that the defense in the first trial was way too on the McCabe's done did it. And I just wanted to hear how Karen couldn't have done it. So I think that having their experts come in and explain just how small the amount of DNA was, how BS this whole for 10, 7, 13 days, you know.
Yeah. In retrospect, yeah, that should. But again, the defense was crippled by the judge's decision to go into certain areas that they might have felt, do we really want to risk the state's rebuttal case by just having a DNA expert up?
Well, not to mention, would this judge even fund a DNA expert? We saw with the Delphi case that the defense was throttled financially as well. So would that be something that she'd also have control of? I didn't ask yet, was his defense public defenders? Were they pro bono? What were they paid for?
I'm not entirely sure because I didn't cover this pre-trial. Now, I've heard from other attorneys, they believe Mr. Cruz, he has the basics of a really good attorney, but he needs time to become this great attorney that he might be in the future. And he had this issue throughout the trial that he kind of stutters. He loses words and the names of witnesses. And but I'm keep thinking what ifs. Doug Weinstein from the YSL trial, who I've had on my channel on occasions. Imagine a Mr. Steele on this case. Oh, do we have a cat attack? Hey, folks. Oh, so Cat Not Williams just did an...
Yeah, I'm feeling torn about...
Cat Not Williams did an off I fuck.
I know, I don't even feel like doing my afternoon stream after that, because part of me is just like, I'll catch it tomorrow and just hang out with you and do the rest of because I do think it would be interesting in terms of learning for new trials, because I do agree that while I've liked what I've just seen of Cruz, and I'm just barely through the first, or I'm further through the first day and barely started into the second day. I think he has great poise. I think he has a very easy voice to listen to. He clearly enunciates and projects, which is sometimes hard, but I'm very much appreciate because I listen to trials a lot. So I do think that he could be a very good lawyer. I think he was a pretty good lawyer.
Yeah, I mean, he has. And here's what I know about pre-trial is that the judge had still not given an answer to a number of defense motions. And then mid-trial, here comes the state with, we want to bring in this as well. Here's our motion, just before the defense case in chief.
I thought,
And also just before the defense case in chief and crippling the defense case in chief, they made motions in limine, they made motions yada yada, and all of a sudden, more or less, they were left with either we call Faust and subject him for cross-examination, or a DNA expert, but without the other people that they hoped to be able to bring on, it wouldn't be coherent. And still, then they had to risk the rebuttal case, in which I would assume, since this prison snitch didn't show up for the state case in chief, they would have brought him there on their rebuttal. And even though that prison snitch is a serial snitch who had snitched on multiple people in the past to get out of jail, with this jury, they would have believed him, apparently. Because
I think
they believed Chris Melton was not even 1% guilty. They ruled him out completely.
Yeah, and I know we are all upset.
Yeah.
Me not as much because I haven't watched the entire trial. But what I will say, if there is a silver light, is that this didn't happen in the dark.
Yeah.
The fact that this was streamed, the fact that we have people who watched us, and it's not just us. I saw infamous Sylvia. She was doing it. Kat was on.
Yeah.
I'm a teeny tiny channel, so
Yeah.
but the more voices, the more information, the more people that get eyes on this, the less quiet the state can keep it, the less, oh, well, we'll memory hold this and forget it. No, if you don't think that there's not going to be several panels talking about this case, talking about the closing, talking about what the jury missed, then I would be shocked. And if we've seen anything with the Karen Reed case, is that, public support, in a good way. Again, do not reach out to people. Should the lawyers or appellate lawyers ask for help in certain ways, do what they ask. Don't write letters to lawyers or things like that.
No. Whatever you do, do not write to Chris. Do not contact Chris or his family in any way. Do not contact the prosecution's office. If you're going to write to somebody, write to the Attorney General of Georgia and say, keep it polite. Hello, my name is. I have grave concerns, because that's absolutely a prosecution's word, about the conduct we saw in this trial. For me, it was apparent there was not enough to convict. I hope you can take a look at that trial. Very polite, asking questions, no accusation whatsoever. That is the only thing. Because this judge in this county is the chief judge. She rules over the other judges, apparently. Hi, Kat. Do you need to hang with friends? I'll send you an invite.
And you guys, I'm rescheduling day 2 on the speed run for tomorrow morning at and tomorrow morning's schedule is going to be a little bit odd, so I will let you guys know about that later.
Yeah, can't believe. Yeah, so, this was so fast after they wanted to watch the interview with
Yeah,
Mr. Faust. My gut feeling said, "Oh crap."
Well, and I was almost hopeful when they were listening to the way the detective was defending all these really weird inconsistencies with Chris. I mean, all of these things they never checked into. I would think, look, I'm so type A that if I got this cold case, I would assume that the other detectives didn't do anything. And when I talk to Chris, I'm looking at him as suspect number 1 first to clear him.
Hey, JKD Buck made us into anime.
I love it.
Hey.
Santa and Anna Kendrick. I can't do the cup thing. Y'all, I'm not coordinated.
Oh, Mr. Jingles is in there also in the background. Oh. Yeah. In retrospect, I know that Bob said this. They have to rebut the DNA because we see it everywhere. That once people hear DNA.
And honestly, that was the hardest part of it is even though it didn't fit, it didn't make any sense in this case, there was still that DNA.
Yeah.
And we are so used to it being DNA, he did it. And we are entering a whole new world of DNA where it's always going to be mixtures. It's always going to be so amplified that, yeah, you're going to come up with quintillions and quadrillions, but
Yeah, but it's still from
teeny, tiny.
one cell of something that then they multiply in order to get a viable sample. And the witnesses, I believe they had 4 witnesses that they wanted, but then through the judge's rulings, 2 or 3 of them were impossible to call. Because the defense, they argued, and we talked about this the other day with the judge said no under one rule, so they wanted this in under another rule. And she said, no, you're just trying to circumvent my prior ruling. Well, yeah, because as a judge, you're supposed to, okay, here's the analysis under that rule. Now you are calling for check this other rule. Then she has to, in my opinion, she has to do a full analysis and then weigh them against each other. And
I know, but isn't part of law trying to find creative, new, novel ways to argue something?
Yeah.
That's how you set precedents, or you know, the one that's correct, not grammar people out
and
there.
She allowed the prosecution 3 times hearsay because the witness was dead. The person interviewing it was also dead. Ow. And then through the dead investigators' report, the person on the stand was had his recollection refreshed about what was said in the report. 3 times hearsay.
Yeah, it's just, again, I haven't lived in Georgia. I don't know how this area was, but I do imagine in 2001 there would have been social and probably real physical
Yeah.
stigma against a black guy talking to a white woman in a bar. I don't know, but maybe that was still the case. Maybe there are reasons he said, "I didn't know her."
Yeah. And I mean, in this area, the podcast that started it all, that ended with the Baker Act, a law regarding cold cases, that was news and had been high news in that area. And then all of a sudden, Mr. Faust, his DNA, we caught him. And that has been in local news since then.
Are we
And
finding it very interesting that these cold cases suddenly get a podcast that's local,
Yeah.
that the prosecution maybe talks to, maybe has, like, a relationship with, and then, cases happen with shenanigans? I mean, correlation is not
Yeah.
causation,
Yeah.
and as Georgia Lucas says, history doesn't repeat, it rhymes, but it's getting a whole lot, Shakespearean up in here.
And I mean, back in 2001, the area where Tara Baker was killed, as I said before, a neighbor was called to the window because there was an event outside, and the event was black man walking on the sidewalk. That's it. That it was so novel in that area that people were called to the windows to look at it.
Which I find interesting because it was very close to a Walmart, so usually you would expect these kind of developments, usually they are placed because it was a college town, the apartment where you could walk to Walmart and to the college. So, I would think that in 2001, it wouldn't still be a notable thing, but again, I don't live in Georgia, so I don't know
Yeah.
how the mix is.
And I see over Eric over at X says what the DNA that probably got Mr. Faust convicted, that they claim was in the vagina, but there was never a confirmatory test done, only the presumptive, which means that should never be allowed in as evidence because it is not evidence in itself. And that is also the test where Tara's DNA is missing.
That is odd, and again, why would it not be left in if she'd been violently attacked in the back door, why would only Chris Melton's DNA be there?
Yeah. And the explanation, well, it was sucked up from the vagina and into the back door. And then when you check the actual, the so-called vagina test, that was mislabeled as a mouth swab. But had this presumptive test say it might be from the vagina, so we are going to say it's from the vagina. So the amount of steps they had to take and get approval from the court. Yeah, Katie, man, great for appeal. Yeah, but first, I would say personally, just as I say with Zachary Anderson, with Rick Allen, and now with this case, better than average chance. But that still gets us not even to 10%. Even with all of this, it is that difficult to have a conviction overturned.
because everything's in the light most beneficial to the state. So
Yeah.
you can't the appeal board will never take, even if Judge Cole shows what would be to anyone else clear and total malice, she's still going to get, she starts out as ultra innocent. And yeah, it's
Mm.
pretty hard to prove that a judge has actual bias, though I thought we did.
Mm. Yeah, I'm disappointed, but sadly, after this, soon after the jury questions, especially, we want to watch Mr. Faust testimony. Again, lawyer the fuck up. If somebody reads you your rights, the only words out of your mouth is, I want a lawyer.
Well, KG, if he's guilty, I will be watching the trial. I haven't watched the entire trial. You can feel free to watch it with me. Uh, and if he's guilty, if the state proves it, I'm pretty good at calling balls and strikes. But at this point, the state has been pretty disjointed to me. So,
Mm.
like I said, I'm willing to entertain all the things, but
Mm.
from what
Mm.
I've seen of the state thus far, they have not got a very strong, they don't have
Yeah.
anything other than the DNA. And yes, I
Yeah.
understand that's damning, but did you look at other robberies? Were there things in Mr. Faust's background that led you to him? You don't have to give me those things because those wouldn't be admissible, but I would like to know what investigation you did other than we found DNA, it's done.
Yeah. I say this once in a while, and I'll say it again. DNA is worthless without corroborating evidence. If there is a natural explanation, even remotely, because remember, the standard is beyond a reasonable doubt. For me, there are so many. Chris Milton lying is reasonable doubt. His DNA in the back door, despite the explanation from the state, reasonable doubt. Criminal okay, again, with this communist shit whore. We in the developed world do not prosecute or convict people on their background. Every crime has to stand by itself with the evidence for that specific crime.
Not to mention,
There's only one exception, and that is if it's a modus operandi, like in the Laura Owens case. For the past 10 years, she has faked pregnancies with at least 4 different guys, always with fake twins. That is a modus operandi. Or with serial killers, they have a modus operandi. This is not a modus operandi case. This is a single event in history, which was jackasses before he had an extensive criminal history.
and let's be very real. Our system starts out with you innocent, regardless of your past. If we start bending that, by the time we get done bending that, everyone's going to have everything from their confessionals brought in. So the system is set up to protect not only the monsters, but the innocent people. So unfortunately, the people you don't like, the criminals, the people that we would rather, not have in society, still get the same rights in this country as the people who have lived, a completely blameless life. It's how our justice system is set up.
Hmm.
And it's not
and-
easy.
and-
It is one
yeah.
of the
Mm.
hardest things because humans, we see patterns, we notice things, and we think, okay, it is one of the hardest things. And we ask jurors, and you should sit there and think about, can I do this? Can I
Yeah.
sit there and look at this man who, you know, the state's going to say it has an extensive history.
Mm.
And I look at him and say, yes, knowing all that, I'm still going to assume that he is innocent for this until or unless the state proves it.
Mm.
And I don't think people really understand or can grasp that anymore.
Mm. Yeah.
And there are different levels of association. I can stand, up for Mr. Faust against the state. Would I want him, maybe being an employee unless he's really, really changed? Yeah, no, but on the basis of our justice system,
Mm.
he gets the same rights as a nun that's on trial.
Mm. Yeah. Yeah. And again, when people say, oh, look at his criminal history, he did not have an extensive criminal history in 2001. Folks, we don't even take in what happened before 2001 with Mr. Faust, even less after. Even less. And again, it's beyond reasonable doubt. If you watched Chris Melton on the stand and say to yourself, yeah, he's completely innocent, your judgment of character is very interesting, and I don't want you around. Well, you're welcome to watch this. I mean, in my personal sphere, because then I would assume that your judgment of character is really bad.
And I think the juries need to be honest. If this is a case, like I would have to be very honest that I couldn't be if we were being strictly honest, a juror, while I pretend to put myself in the mindset of a juror. This case of a girl in college losing her life because of the age of my children, I would not be able to be unbiased. I would not be able to be objective. I'm here for the facts. This would definitely not be a case I could deal with. And I think a lot of people assume that they'd be okay with things and don't realize just exactly what they're going to see in a trial. Because, you can hear grisly photos. If you've never seen autopsy or crime scene photos, there's no preparing yourself for them.
Yeah, if the jury shows up somewhere and has interviews, I would be really, really interested in seeing. But I suspect it is. His DNA was inside her. He claimed 24 years later he never met her. But as the defense said in closing and in trial, in his interview, they never showed her picture. Folks, in 24 years, what did your neighbor look like? For 24 years ago, that person you met at a bar, describe them.
Yeah, I found it weird in the interview with Mr. Faust, and I'll probably watch it several more times during the speed run. But what I found odd was, again, her giggly demeanor.
Hmm.
I can understand building rapport, but again, if you truly believe from the bottom of your heart with the evidence that you have that this man is capable of violent, not only SA, but strangulation, assault, and then arson, are you going to be really close to him? Are you going to be giggling next to him? Are you going to be joking with him? I understand building rapport, but this woman was not at all, and I understand maybe she has a different level of threat that she feels, and you don't wanna show that, but she was so casual with him, it was really off-putting. You would think that there would be a level of seriousness if you're bringing up what is essentially one of the most important cases in the county. There would be some sort of gravitas. There wouldn't be this giggly valley girl thing going on. But maybe that's just my general dislike of vapid women. I don't know, her tone, can we sue the Georgia Bureau of Investigation for that woman's tone?
Yeah, but you have to understand, she is the star of the cold case unit. She makes convictions happen. Now, if you really want to speedrun this trial, and we already discussed the DNA evidence, you look at the Chris Melton testimony and what was her name again? The lead detective, her testimony.
I think I called her Hannah Montana.
Mm. 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 And also, Chris Melton apparently did an interview on that podcast, and now that podcast have removed all Chris Melton's Chris Melton content from his podcast. Apparently,
They
because he says something different on his podcast than he said on the fucking stand.
I
And
understand that,
instead
but
of instead of owning it, that fucking moron removes it.
yeah, but they do realize that, the Wayback Machine is a thing, the internet is forever. I mean, there is going to be someone that's going to have downloaded or saved a copy of that.
Mm. Yeah, I wish I was more surprised, sadly.
I think DNA is always going to be a hard one, and especially when the defense was hamstrung and couldn't put on really much of a case. You can have a stellar closing, but you need to have really good, I mean, look at all the stellar witnesses that Karen Reed had to put on against 2 idiot experts.
Yeah.
I mean,
And the first trial was still a hung jury.
yeah.
Yeah. Without her team, without her being quite wealthy to start with, without Turtle Boy picking it up, making it famous, she would have been fucked. If Karen Reed had been a normal person with an average income, she would have spent her life in prison. That's the importance of a great team and money. Yeah. Gigi says, remember, the jury didn't hear all the shenanigans the judge pulled. No, that was outside of the face of the jury. And I remember Sylvia said, or wrote on X, or said on one of her streams, that she thought the jury didn't look on the defense with a nice face.
I wonder why that was. Again, I can really understand. It would be very hard, and I think that a lot of jurors, probably struggle with this, where there is only a very little bit that if I'm wrong if I'm wrong and I let an innocent man go to jail, that's one thing, but if I'm wrong and I let a guilty man go free, can I live with myself? And I think on balance, most people say, "I don't wanna be the person that they come to if this person turns out to be a monster and I got it wrong."
Mm.
And and it's not supposed to be like that. I don't think it's supposed to come to it's definitely not supposed to come down to that, but I
Mm.
think especially in these older cases where you want a monster to slay, it's very much like the Uvalde thing.
Mm.
This was horrible, this was horrific, but instead of finding the right monster and
Mm.
double checking.
Yeah. Santha Sant Habierman. Sorry. The FBI was involved in the investigation and asked,
Oh,
yeah, in 2001, and they told the local cops, you need to check Chris Melton's hard drive, get a subpoena, get a search warrant, and go through his hard drive. And they didn't. No search warrants, nothing whatsoever, because he's a good white boy. He couldn't have done this. He had
I'm
an
kind of
alibi we
shocked.
didn't bother to check up.
So I know it wouldn't be allowed to be brought in, but does anyone know if Chris has had further, involvement with the legal system as well, as far as any DV accusations or assault accusations?
According to himself, he has been in a 25-year depression. He has changed jobs a lot, changed careers a lot. He's home a lot in his because he moved back into his parents after
Okay.
all the interviews and everything. He moved back to his parents and has since stayed there in the same house, in his parents' house.
Doing what?
Odd jobs here and there, apparently. Changing careers,
Oh,
moping.
okay.
And for me, that says, oh, because of another thing that when you watch Chris Melton's testimony, that is revealed there. I don't think his parents trusted him to be anywhere but home.
That
No, Kristen, his mother is still alive.
oh,
Yeah, his dad passed away in May 26, 2024, which is just a couple of months after all of this with the new DNA and Faust and everything. He passed away just a month later.
oh.
Yeah. Oh no, no, his interview was May 5th, 2024, and May 9th was the interview with Mr. Faust, where they arrested him.
Interesting. It would just seem that this would be something a rather explosive thing, and I would think that this wouldn't be something. I mean, people have done it, but you wouldn't
Mm,
think you would have one explosive bout of violence, and then you wouldn't have any
mm,
other sign of that. Now, I know BTK and other things like that, but you would think you would have to have a certain kind of pathology
mm,
to be able to do that, or mindset.
mm.
I don't.
Yeah. Yeah, folks, I see you are all you are all. I see people are showing up. Thank you for showing up here as we handle what just happened. Hit the like. It's oh, it feels bad to say it, but while you're here, hit the thumbs up. Ah, yes, she is. Yes, she is. You're muted.
No, I jumped in early, so I was trying to coordinate things with Mr. Mo. So thank you. Yeah, I don't even have the chat pulled up. I was going to say thanks in chat, but I don't even, I was like, where is the tab for the, and don't even have it pulled up.
Yeah,
I
this
honestly
is
didn't think we were going to get a verdict today. The way they were being so thorough, I kind of thought that because I
yeah,
was kind of hopeful with what they first asked about, but
yeah. The first
that
two
makes
questions, yeah, the last two, and then I was hoping, okay, at what point will they ask? I was hoping that the reason why they didn't want to hear Chris Melton again was that it was everybody knew he was a liar. But as it stands now, the jury believed him. Oh yeah, and they after the they wanted a free lunch before the verdict because this happened exactly directly after the lunch was over. So they went back, yeah, let's have lunch, and then we walk out with the verdict. Yes, Sluthy. He was found guilty. Yeah. Yeah. We are all kind of stunned. And I do believe, we said it before, but now we are over 150 more people than when I said it last time. DNA, and he said he never met her. That's it. That was the sole reason for this conviction, I believe. Because they asked for the DNA report and they asked to watch Mr. Faust police interview. And then when they came back right after lunch,
yeah, but as a person who watches a lot of police interviews, and I mean a lot of them, Mr. Faust didn't do like that exaggerated, I swear to God on my grandma, mama, baby, daddy's life, soul. He didn't do that. He didn't have an overreaction. He just, he was trying to be calm. He almost thought it was a joke. Again, that's why the emotional read on it was so off that
yeah,
even he thought, "Is this a joke? Because
yeah,
you're trying to, pin this very infamous crime on me, and you're coming at me like I bounced a check at Aldi's." She was it was just a very weird tone that the detective had, the female.
yeah. And the defense said, look at how nice they treated Mr. Milton in the interview. Even told him. And let's see, I don't think Mo has seen this yet, but I have a clip of it here. Let's see where it is. This is just a tiny part of the lead detective.
But then you told Chris you know you didn't kill her, but you were the last person there before she got killed. Do you remember making that statement?
No, I mean, I do remember making that statement, but that was in the context of me giving him that narrative of the last, or giving him an out with that narrative.
Who hired Hannah Montana or not? No, not Hannah Montana. Who hired Lizzie McGuire? Georgia, explain yourself.
Mm. In her interview of Chris Melton, 7 times Chris Melton said no 10 days before. And then eventually he said, yeah, we had sex the weekend before. She had to push him into saying this. As she said here, she gave him an out because they already had their suspect. They just wanted a reason to say Chris didn't do it by putting him as close as possible to him having sex with Tara. They got 6 days before. They got there, which is still, even theoretically, impossible for his DNA to be even traceable 6 days later with the leakage or whatever's.
Here's the problem. You would have needed a DNA expert. Then you would have needed an examination expert that would have maybe a gynecologist, maybe an OB, or maybe a nurse or someone who's done a lot of these where, they can basically say, look, I have done X number of kids and I have never seen sperm live longer than X amount of days. Or if I have, it was because the lady was in a freezer or something like that. So.
Hold on while I bring this up. This is from Chris Melton. By the way, this down in the corner, these are his hands 2 days later, which he claimed he punched the wall. 2 days, he conveniently. And he does this the day after he was interviewed the first time, when his hands were covered in plumber's cement, plumber's glue, and stuff like that. How do you cover the back of your hands in all of that is beyond me. But
also, how do you punch the wall 30 times and not hit a stud? Now, knowing my luck, I'm hitting a stud the first time I punch this.
Yeah, but he said he punched the wall 30 times in a wall, and he even punched into the concrete outer wall. And never went to the hospital.
So almost like he'd have the strength to really tie a very strong knot, because it takes sustained strength to maintain basically a garrote or, strangle someone. It's not a quick thing. You have to maintain pressure.
Now, let's listen to this.
Since I was there, they had asked me a few questions in a room, and then they asked me if I would identify her body.
What went through your mind when they?
Yeah, they asked the boyfriend to identify the body at the crime scene.
Not.
How the fuck do you even do that? That pisses me off to no extent.
Okay,
devil's
advocate. Maybe they wanted to spare the parents. So. I'm not saying it's smart or it should have been done, but I do try to attribute to just incompetence or, stupidity instead of malice. So maybe devil's advocate, they didn't want the parents to see this.
Yeah, but this is not important.
I asked you that.
Why would they ask him? Yeah. Her parents is boyfriend.
I feel like we're in Jurassic Park where it's like, tell me about DNA. And you're like, doop.
But let's see if
I was aware that there was a fire, and I didn't want to see any of them. No matter who it was, I didn't want to see what devastation that may have caused
What did you hear? Let's go back.
And I didn't want to see any of them. You know, no matter who it was, I didn't want to see what devastation that may have caused.
Again, devil's advocate, when they have been saying Fawn Road, I wrote it down as Fallen in my notes because of the accent. So to be devil's advocate, it could be they'd done, I'd, they'd. It could either be they or I. Now, I am predisposed to hear I because none of his story makes sense to me. But if I hadn't heard anything, I might have heard they. So
Any of
that's
them.
I'm slowing
You
down.
know, no matter who it was, I didn't want to see what devastation that may have caused.
Yeah, it's the A in there.
yeah.
But that's slow down. Let's see what that may have caused. So not even the subtitles knows exactly what was said.
But again, Chris is the thing that works in this case. Edric is the thing that doesn't work, at least in my opinion. From an outside observation, every single thing in this points to Chris except for that DNA. There's no fingerprints of Faust.
Yeah.
It just Faust has to be so good at everything that he didn't leave any evidence except for his DNA.
Yeah, no hair, despite Caucasian hair in her hand. Now, they didn't test all the hairs, just some of them. And with this hair analyst who checked it through a microscope with against a known sample and said, this is consistent with her own hair. And again, folks, it's a shit science who should never be allowed into court because it's subjective. It's not a science. It is a subjective opinion by a person who has one hair here and a known sample here. And all they have to say, consistent. Yeah, sadly, Öikerman, guilty on all counts. And Chris's hair, even though, well, he went there all the time, it's natural for his DNA to be on the place. Yeah, but it's not natural for his hair to be on the socket from where the cable she was strangled with.
Yeah.
And it was not this far apart. It was this far apart. As if she fought back, he tumbled over, left a hair.
Yeah, because the whole where she was in the bed and how the mattress and everything had been kind of moved indicated to me that she fought really, really hard. And I
Yeah.
thought that the defense should have played up, and I haven't seen the clothes yet, but the fact that she was nude and there was no sign of any clothes being torn off or
Oh, they
cut.
claim. One of the firemen at the time claimed that he smelled shampoo on her hair. Remember, I told you this.
Oh, yeah.
And from that, the state claims it must have happened right as she walked out of the shower with her towel and everything. That was the only thing. And, you know, his pubic hair on her butt. She sat down on the rug and blow dried her hair. That's how
Okay.
his pubic hair got on her butt. So they have his pubic hair on her butt and his DNA in her butt.
Okay. I'm not going to speak for every woman, but I can I can tell you with no hesitation that even if I blow dried my hair on the floor, I would put on pants. I'm not doing that in the nude, especially in a college rental. Are you like, you want to get gonorrhea for syphilitis? Like, oh my God. The fact that she would sit down and there would be a pube on the floor. Like, I need Purell. I need Purell now. I need it just yeah, or sit on a towel. But most women, even when we are alone, aren't generally comfortable just hanging out nude. We generally will put on at least a little bit of clothing,
Mm.
like even a scuzzy t-shirt and shorts or something, even if it's not the outfit we're eventually gonna get into, we typically don't just wander around nude, at least to my knowledge.
Mm. Yeah, and according to the state and her friends, she was a bit of a conservative. I mean, walking around, well, again, everybody, she was alone in the house. Sure, when, yeah, stuff, you do weird stuff when you're alone in the house, okay? We all know that, okay? And here's another thing. What are the odds of Edric Faust, who is more or less never in that area, to pick that house with a car outside, to walk in through locked doors, do all the things, and then walk out and lock the doors behind him, because all the doors were locked, and the window screen was still on. We saw the picture.
Also, Charles, you don't have to shout, sweetheart. No, I'm not an expert, but you don't need to appeal to the fallacy of authority. I can just logic things out. That's actually what our entire legal system is based on, is the reasonable logic of everyday citizens. So I don't have to be an expert to have an opinion.
Mm. And Charles Daly, I have a law degree and 35 years of experience.
I borrow his authority.
Yeah. So if you're going to argue authority, you're fucked. Okay, you either
Charles, he
stop.
could have, but did the state prove that he did? Does the state have any indica
Mm.
besides the DNA that he was in the home?
Charles, the state's witness testified they had her keys in evidence. They were never picked up. Her home key is still in evidence according to the state. And stop shouting now. Yeah. And still, this is beyond reasonable doubt. You are mentioning a possibility that how Faust might have entered and exited the home. That's not beyond reasonable doubt.
And at this point, with what he has been adjudicated as guilty, we shouldn't be hypotheticaling most of this trial. Even in the Chandler Halderson case, yes, there was some, how did he actually do this, that, and the other? But there should not be this level of, well, how did he do this? And how did he do that? And if you line up all the stars and the conformity gate is real, then all of the end of Stranger Things made sense. It's just,
Charles, I honestly hope someday you will end up in front of a jury consisting of people exactly like you. Exactly like you. Folks, and I never make it a secret. I am pro-defense because you have to apply evidence to beyond a reasonable doubt. On top of that, the defendant is innocent until and unless proven guilty beyond a reasonable doubt. I have covered trials where I honestly said, this person is regarded, let's check the evidence, and mid through the state's evidence, I say, fuck that guy. Fuck that guy altogether. Check my Adelson coverage.
Well, check our Uvalde coverage. We went
Check
in there
our-
pro-state.
Yeah,
We were both
we
like,
went into the Uvalde trial pro-state. And the state changed our mind. This is not oh, we're looking for blood, or oh, everybody's innocent. No, apply the evidence and then reach a conclusion.
and what most people are in the chat saying is it's not a binary system. It's not that if we think that justice wasn't served here or that the state didn't prove its case, that he's automatically factually, innocent. No, it means the state, by the standards we all agreed on in our justice system, didn't prove its case.
No.
To a lot of us. And if you disagree, Law and Crime, which is typically very state, and I do go to Law and Crime, I go to Court TV, I go to Justice as a Process. I look at a lot of different sites to get a general idea of what people are thinking. And for the first time in a while, this was more of a not guilty. And most of those other sites are very pro-state.
Yeah.
So I was actually shocked with the amount. Now, it was still small margins. That DNA is always going to be incredibly difficult to get over. But,
Yeah, I got here. This is Law and Crime after 1,129 votes. It was still at 27% guilty at 1,500 votes. Do you know how rare this is? Charles Daly, okay, fuck you. You lying sack of shit. Get out of here. Get out of here. You're lying sack of shit.
Also,
Get out of here.
Weren't the 3 witnesses that saw a black gentleman, wasn't the defense able to prove that 2 of them saw different people? Or it was a different black man? I thought.
Yeah. I have very simple rules for trolling. Be right or be funny. If you come here and spew garbage and make provable lies, you're gone. You're gone. You are gone. If you want to have a discussion, then have a discussion. But if you spew provable lies to me, you're gone.
Yeah, and that's why I don't mind having a discussion, because that's the thing. We don't always see the same trial. I'm very aware of that. What I don't appreciate is when you make personal attacks, or when, again, I have never claimed to be anything but a mom of 6 who likes to watch trials and uses logic.
Yeah.
I always tell y'all, go to Nick. He's an actual factual lawyer. Go to MLS. He is an actual factual lawyer. Go to people. I'm not going to, tell you lawyerly things.
Yeah. And I say, challenge the issue, not the person. No. Here's the thing with these kinds of trolls. They don't care. They will make up a new lie and never acknowledge that they were lying. Folks, I've been around for a very, very long time. In the infancy of internet, when there literally were no rules. I recognize these 10 miles away. First, they make a statement of fact that they know can't be disproven. Oh, I lived 500 yards away. Oh, I know this. Oh, I know this. Can't be checked. Then they make a factual lie then they keep, if disproven, they keep lying, and they keep lying. I don't have time or energy or patience with obvious trolls. You are out. If you want to have a discussion, you can start with a simple question. In my opinion, this is what the evidence showed. In my opinion, here is how I interpret the DNA evidence. Here is how I
Yeah.
interpret it. But if you make statements of facts that are not even the prosecution claimed, then you're not here for a discussion. And
Well,
then you're
not
out.
not only that, but I saw his other comment about I'm not going to hold water for a black guy or something.
Mm.
Red, white, blue, purple, green. I don't I know it sounds corny, but I don't see that.
Mm.
Because I don't live in Georgia, I wasn't steeped in that. I don't have that. I was raised in rural Midwest where we were taught to, judge people by the content of their character and, not anything else. So, yeah, I don't have that baggage. I don't have that other part. But again, from what I've seen, and with the amount of time it took for the jury to come up with a verdict, the state didn't prove its case. Again, I haven't seen the entire trial, so I want to be very clear on that.
And do you require this of everyone? I actually do. I actually do. Now you have to actually watch my stuff to notice that. But yes, if somebody went up here, went into my channel, hey, I know Chris Milton personally. I know that he is an absolute scumbag who grapes people. They would have been gone in an instant. So no, not just opposition. Facts.
Yeah, and you can watch my Canero trial coverage, Oh, and Nick, you can let Abish know.
Yeah. Hi. It was guilty. All counts. Including, breaking an entry and robbery, where there was literally zero evidence. I've heard, what's his name? A Lawyer Explains channel thought that some of these should not survive a motion of directed verdict. And he is annoyingly neutral. Annoyingly neutral. A Lawyer Explains is a retired appellate attorney. And he's good.
Cat,
And
not Williams.
annoyingly neutral.
They didn't think. They saw the DNA. And however compelling, however it didn't fit, it Now, I do wonder if Chris Milton, after this, with all the attention, is going to go on a defamation conflagration. I don't know, but I don't think he came off as innocent or as spotless as he thinks he did. I think he knows that. And I wonder if there's going to be a preemptive, PR move. And this is why we need to bring back civics class. I don't think people understand what the burden of proof is, where the state has their burden. I think we've seen a burden shift. I think more and more people.
Yeah, but here's the thing. I understand them, but also they are emotionally invested in that Chris Milton. And here's the thing, folks. If this was a trial against Chris Milton, I would have used the other DNA to say reasonable doubt. $5 says Melton doesn't show up to sentencing. I would not bet against it, and thank you.
I can see it going 2 ways with that. Yeah.
See, what was the comment I'm missing? Going back here to see. I don't see it. Folks, sometimes this might be, no, there. George Lisa wouldn't allow Cruz to bring in the neighbor who said she saw a white man in jeans and white shirt running through her backyard that morning.
I've only
Because
heard about that
yeah.
from the defense opening so far, so I was wondering if I was going to be able to see that. Obviously, with the defense not being able to put on a case.
Yeah.
Now, maybe this is a dumb question. Who is Liz that people keep mentioning in the chat, since I'm still new to this?
It's the Liz is the lead attorney, a lead detective, I believe.
Oh, okay.
What LawTuber did you say was annoyingly neutral? His channel is called A Lawyer Explains. Let me find it for you.
And thank you, chat, for answering the question. I just, okay, that makes sense now.
Here he is. JD, A Lawyer Explains. Annoyingly neutral.
You know, he's come up in my feed.
I watch his videos, and he made videos about this trial. Annoyingly neutral. Oh, no, I didn't mean Peter Tragos. Oh, Peter Tragos' neutrality in all his coverage has nothing against this guy. This guy is truly neutral. Annoyingly neutral. You want to scream, but this. But he just says, I don't care. This is my neutral opinion.
He looks so happy. I'm going to have to watch him because he's got such a happy background. Why didn't I think of this? Just a green screen and the beach.
Yeah, he has a green screen of a beach. And now he has different beaches sometimes. And he's just talking. And he shows clips. And fair, calm, respectful.
We should see if we can get him on for Friday for the Slightly Buzz stream to talk about this, although we might need to warn him what the Slightly Buzz stream is.
Yeah, and I remember the stream I had regarding the closing arguments. And for me, I just sat and listened through it all. This fucking guy, oh, it was too long. People nod off after a while, but I didn't. Because he's neutral, and he says from his experience as a U.S. trial and appellate attorney. And yes, he did repeat himself. It went on for 1 hour and 45 minutes. I could see that. It's annoying. But yeah, this guy is really good. Yeah, as Jen says, he does good recap. Yeah, 20-minute recaps of here's the important thing I found, and here's my opinion about it, and then here's another thing, and maybe 2 or 3 things of a recap. 20-minute videos. So yeah.
I was about to say,
look at his thumbnails. Incredibly neutral and everything. And he also jury request replay of certain evidence. And also here, when tragedy enters the courtroom 3 hours ago, emotion on trial. Which I
Yeah,
don't
that
know how he. Let's.
A good friend of mine, a very successful trial lawyer in Kansas City, told me that a lawyer has to play by the rules, but he doesn't necessarily have to play fair.
Oh,
Oh, I like this.
a minute or so of this, because I don't know if he allows people to react to his videos.
Hi, Tony DeWitt here, Missouri appellate attorney, retired, and a guy who likes to make the law make sense on YouTube. This is what we're talking about today. First, a brief recap. On September 4, 2024, Colt Gray walked into Appalachia High School in Georgia and opened fire on students and teachers. His father was subsequently charged with criminal negligence. In order to prevail, the state must prove that this act was foreseeable, that the father had a duty to protect others from the potential criminal conduct of his son, gross negligence, which is a more serious version of negligence, and finally, causation, that the failure to protect these people directly caused or directly contributed to cause the deaths and injuries involved in the case. Do you ever get really angry? I have this antenna that is up in a tree for my ham radio, and for whatever reason, someone or something cut the wire, so it needs to come down. And I went out to go take it down, and it seems to be hung up in the tree in such a way that I can't bring it down. And I'm out there cussing and fussing. And it's like you just can't think straight when you get really angry. And a lot of times when plaintiffs are bringing a case and when the state is bringing a case in a criminal case, one of the first things they work on is making the jury really angry about the way things happen, angry at some of the thoughtless things that people do at times. And to a certain extent, I saw some of that yesterday in the Colin Gray trial. Let me show you a little bit of that, and you can tell me what you think.
Tell us a little bit about what your role was in the investigation once you arrived at the school.
So we got there fast as we could, obviously. On arrival, ran to the school, started clearing rooms and rendering aid when we could.
Okay. And what area of the school were you working on when you were there?
I went everywhere in the school.
Okay.
Just kind of ran around.
All right. Chaotic scene.
Yes, ma'am.
And I'm going to kind of shift you to sort of a different front. After the dust had settled and you kind of found out about the victims in this case, did you realize that you were personally acquainted with one of the victims?
Yes, ma'am.
Tell us who that was.
Ricky Aspinwall.
And tell us about how you knew. Is that Richard Aspinwall?
Yes, ma'am.
Tell us about how you knew him.
He was my football coach, my track and field coach throughout high school at Mountain View High School in Gwinnett County.
And what year did you graduate there?
2016.
And is that where he worked before he worked at Appalachia High School?
Yes, ma'am.
Right. In the capacity of a teacher and a coach?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And so did you pretty much know him throughout your high school career?
Correct.
I'm going to show you what's been marked as State's Exhibit 40, and this is previously been shown to the defense.
Yeah, folks, I don't want to take views from this from his channel. I posted the link in the chat so you can go watch it yourselves. But I highly recommend that channel. Highly recommend it.
Yeah, he is definitely going to be my go-to, like, because he has a calm, even way of
Yeah.
talking. So
Yeah.
instead of listening to airplane crashes, which my therapist will have a field day with, I'm going to listen to him.
And now, with a final note, because I have to be somewhere soon, and Mo, JKD
Yeah.
Buck made another.
Oh no. I love it.
I love
Yes.
it. It's Santa Claus and Sailor Mo.
Yes. Here to bring justice, shenanigans, and spaz outs to everyone. In the name of the moon, justice, and sarcasm.
Yeah. And yeah, Santa Claus is me in December. Every December, I turn into Santa Claus. And let's see, where is it? I have this on, or I have, where is it? I have this on. Oh. So that is every December. Yeah. I grow out my beard a little longer and I become Santa Claus.
And Pixie Poo, no, we've been on stream, so I haven't seen any of that. And I'll be honest, by the time I get off my own channel and do editing and all that, I just want to watch House.
Mm.
So it's nothing against anyone. I'm just I'm ready to be done with YouTube. So I do need to check it out.
Mm. And also, if we manage to do if me and Mo can defeat Laura Owens' $83,000 she made from her podcast, I'm happy with half of that. I would be ecstatic for half of that. I can relocate to the United States, maybe. And during December, I mean, if you want your personal Santa.
Can you
Ta-da!
imagine Santa Law cameos? You need to start making Santa Law cameos.
Yeah. Santa Law. Let me read you a story. There once was a girl named Laura Owens who yeah.
And he'd be like, children, off you fuck, ho, ho, ho.
Oh. Where is that? Ah, there it is. Ho, 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 says Santa Claus. Yep. Oh, yeah. But with this amazing rendition of me and Mo, I know we're all disappointed. We have to now, Mr. Faust has to rely on the appeals.
Yeah.
But folks, that will take years. I mean, the Zachariah Anderson trial ended almost 3 years ago. Still, it's not up in the appeals court. They are still working on it. It will take years. That is why they say, even if you win on appeal, you still lose, because you lose years, maybe even decades of your life before a wrong is made right, if ever.
Yeah, and this might be something that the Innocence Project will look at, but again, it's going to take years. I mean, if anything would be a case that I would look into, this would be one, but they've also had a lot of eyes on this, and I don't think that this is a whole new ball game. This kind of watching, it's a small segment of the population, but they were able to do this basically under the cover of darkness for the most part until LawTube became a thing, until it became, a tribe of weirdos who weren't going to stay silent if they saw a miscarriage of justice. So while it is a dark day, do have a silver lining that at least now it's being seen. Imagine how many Fausts there were before YouTube, before LawTube. How many were there? How many were there that had, just one single thing or maybe a really compelling story, but no one could get enough people to look at this? Where would we have been if maybe more eyes got on this case and maybe more experienced lawyers? Because I do think that Attorney Cruz is good, but maybe he needed a more experienced lawyer to tell him, you've got a really good start here and here, but you maybe need to focus here. Because I was going to ask before we left, did the other attorney do any of the crossing or anything?
No. And yeah, I agree. He should. I mean, he's a good attorney, no question about it. He knows where his heart is. He knows what evidence and such he wants in. But when he went in front of this judge, who got him off his game so often, that is something. Especially in Georgia, apparently, he needs to learn how to handle. And there were a number of good attorneys in the YSL trial that he might, let's go with what's his name?
I know there was
Keith Adams, the co-counsel for Brian Steele. That would
I
have
liked
been
him.
that having him as a mentor. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think a lot of I think he has. I know it kind of is a silly analogy, but we're doing a lot of construction, so it's kind of what's in my mind right now. So there are the good bones there to have a wonderful lawyer. He just needs to learn when to use a scalpel, when to bring things up. Those things that you learn with experience. No one starts out being a really good YouTuber. You kind of have to get a feel for when to pull up comments, when to, pause, all those things. So I think he'll only get better.
I got from a person on X who says 6 months before Faust was arrested, his stepmother passed away, which conveniently was the last person who could confirm Mr. Faust. If Mr. Faust had an alibi, they could call her. And again, also something that was denied Mr. Faust, that was allowed to Mr. Melton. Faust, the phone company he used was defunct. So the phone records weren't allowed in because they had nobody to attest to the the foundation, according to the judge. And his attorney said, well, it is a computer generated. It goes to the weight of the evidence, and you can instruct the jury or whatever's. But no, there needed to be a person employed at that company to verify this phone record. But there were. It's been defunct for over
No, and
15
the
years.
problem, you would need a DNA expert who is also an attorney. I mean, Karen Reed's attorneys were not picked by accident. You had, Jackson, who was an engineer. You had Alessi, who was a pharmacist and understood medical stuff and was, I think, also something else. So you had specific lawyers who could deal with the experts the state was going to bring in, and that is not inexpensive. And I do wonder, because I didn't look at all the court documents, was she stingy with monies for experts with the defense?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. The early days of the YSL trial was absolutely horrific. For you who don't know, I covered the YSL RICO trial for 2 years. 2 damn years of my life. Pre-trial, jury selection, hearings, voir dires, everything pre-trial, and then you came to the first 6 months of the trial when George Glanville still presided. Yeah, and if George Glanville hadn't screwed up so badly, they yeeted him, I don't know what would have happened. Because Mr. Jingles is chasing. Did you bring in a mouse again? Fuck. I know it's cold outside. Don't bring your prey indoors just because it's warm here.
But they don't last long.
Yeah. Yeah. But folks, okay, now it's been 20 minutes since I said, hey, let's wind this up. But welcome to me
when
and
we get
Mo.
together. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. The Jungle Book opening. Yeah. Oh, in the YSL trial. When
What?
Prosecutor Love quoted one of the first lines in the Jungle Book, written by the biggest racist who ever lived, Rudyard Kipling. In a trial against young black men, she was quoting the Jungle Book, written by the biggest racist who ever walked this planet.
Well, I mean, at least she didn't read Ricky Tikki Tavi at Gandhi's trial.
Yeah.
Wasn't she the same woman that all the state wore red after claiming that if you ever even thought of wearing green once in your life, you were an unconvicted co-conspirator?
Yeah, if you were the same colors, that tells us you are a part of a gang. And then they showed up for closing arguments, all wearing red.
I was like, I know I'm a natural blonde, but even I can see the problem with this.
Yeah, it was. But yeah, I really have to wind up now.
Me
wind
too.
down. Yeah. Folks, from me and Mr. Jingles, thank you, Mo, for being here. Thank you guys for being here. All but the fuck who tried to troll. Thank you. Without you, this was not to be possible. Now, I will keep track. In a year or two, when the appeals documents are being filed, yes, I will try to find it. But I wouldn't mind if you remind me. Remember, folks, I'm old as fuck. And I've covered over 30 trials on this damn channel.
Yeah, and this year is going to be incredibly dense with trials. We have Corey Richins coming up next. We've got
Me and Mo are teaming up on the Corey Richins.
Yes.
Yeah. Now
Yes,
we don't know who will do mornings and who will do afternoons. I don't really know my schedule in the next month, but we will find out a good way to tag team that trial.
Yes.
So if you're really interested in that trial, you should follow both of them.
Yes.
Both of us.
Wherever.
I'm so good at directions.
No, I'm reincarnated leader of the Donner Party.
She got us lost on a paved walkway.
You followed my direction after telling you I was the reincarnated leader of the Donner Party. It's not my fault that even though I tell people not to listen to me, I have the face that says, listen to me. I have a good idea.
Yeah, but you were almost... What happened, folks? August 2024, we went to Delphi, Indiana. And we walked the trail of where they claim where the victims of the Delphi case, Abby and Libby, walked, and allegedly what the prosecution claimed that Richard Allen also took. So we walked that way, and we discovered This is in August. There is leaves everywhere. You can hear people 100 yards away with ease. That crime happened in February. There's no leaves anywhere. Everything they did would have been heard by anybody on that train.
Yeah, that's the other thing that never made sense. But if we start getting into Delphi, we are never leaving, and
Yeah,
you have things to do.
Yeah, we have things to do. Folks, again, thank you so much. And I made an AI song.
Ooh.
No, this is one people might have heard before. Based on hair analysis guy.
Step right up to the miracle station. We've got justice in a jar on sale. Wave a lab coat, sprinkle Latin, sign your name, then set that scale. Look, a scratch on a screwdriver. Look, a pattern on a shell. Call it tool mark analysis, baby. That's how they send you to a cell. It's a shit science and you know it, but they sell it with a wink and a grin. Draw a line, call it math. Write a number on a latch, then they swear that the truth's locked in. Shit science. Showbiz in a lab coat, give the jury one more magic trick to quote. They clap, they sigh while a life goes by. On a shit science song and dance they buy. Open wide, says the expert smiling. Let me measure every jagged tooth. Bite mark analysis on a bruise in a photo. They announce they've discovered the truth. Here's a cheat, here's a mole, here's a slideshow. Turn the guests into gospel on a screen. They don't mention all the bodies that this carnival left in between. It's a shit science, and you know it, but they built it like 11 o'clock tune. They project, they perform on the stand while a family waits for a June. It's a shit science, glitter on a gravestone. They make certainty from shadows alone. They rhyme might with must, turn maybe to must on a shit science chorus of trust. Here's a hair in a plastic packet, microscopic match. They shout on cue, they compare, they declare from a single little strand, like a crystal ball come true. Then a tape in a humming courtroom. Listen close, do you hear that line? Voice print and Alice on a squiggle in a graph. They pretend it's a fingerprint sign. They said you know it, still they stage it with a spotlight glow. Every chart, every slide, just a confident pride. But the stakes are too high for this show. It's a shit science curtain call on bad odds. Time to tear down this cardboard facade. Cause a man could lose his life to a catchy little lie from a shit science.